on Rural TV.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us for another episode of Horse Talk Live. I'm your host, Lizzie Iwerson, and what we were trying to accomplish here on Horse Talk Live is give our viewers a wide variety of topics. Today's topic, we're talking about Mustangs, and one breed in particular, the Kiger Mustangs. I have with me a horseman and artist. His name is Roland Cheney, and he's an advocate and great spokesperson for the breed. So Roland, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Lizzie. Pleasure being here. It's been just a real thrill being a part of the Kiger Association.
Well, and you, like I mentioned, are a strong advocate for the breed, and it's something that is, or this horse represents a lot of history, or has a lot of history, and people are taking and putting a lot of effort into maintaining this breed and making sure that the registry grows and the horses are taken care of.
That's true. Yeah, we believe that this breed of horse is the last known remnants of what the conquistadors brought in the 16th century.
Okay.
So we have a wonderful genetic resource that we're doing everything we know how to maintain it as a cohesive unit.
Okay, and there are some particular things that make this breed so special, and you've been involved since 1988.
Yes.
With the association. What got you started?
Well, it really kind of began in a family vacation, and quite by accident, I happened to go by the Burns Wild Horse Holding Facility and was able to go in and see my first Kiger.
Okay.
And he was a 6-year-old light Gruyere stallion with a mane and tail that hung to his, his forelock hang clear down to his nostrils, and his mane hung to his knees, and he was looking out at me out of one eye. He was just a sight to behold. He was a beautiful animal. And he left my heart just kind of pounding. I just thought, wow, now that's what a wild horse is supposed to look like, And from an artist's perspective, that's how I kind of see the world around me, is in terms of color and design and all of the things that an artist looks at. And then there's a romanticism also. When you look at a wild horse with lots of mane and lots of tail and a unique stripy color, and you think, wow, that's something. And then to find out that there's more of them and that they all kind of look alike. It was phenomenal.
So you saw this first one, and being an artist, you got involved with those horses on that level in the beginning, right?
I did. I had almost always have a sketchbook with me, and so I hauled out my pen and did some sketches of this particular horse just to record the experience, and tore them out of the book and handed them to the buckaroo that was showing us around, and told him that if he ever needed an artist for whatever reason, to let me know. And he gave them to his boss, Josh Warburton, who was the director of the BLM at that time in Burns. And Josh sent them on to Washington, D.C. in about December. That was in August. About December, I got a call saying, would you really do this for us? We'd like to have some brochures made up and kind of detailing and outlining what these horses look like, and perhaps the dun factor and their overall dimensions and size and their conformation and where they are, where people can see them. So I said, yeah, I'd be more than happy to do that. So I went up to my first meeting in Burns, Oregon. No, in Bend. It happened to be in Bend.
Okay.
Met with Josh Warburton and about 7 or 8 other people who Josh had called together to form a group to try to help set them aside and protect them from being dispersed and just kind of lost.
Right.
So that's what we did.
Okay, so you started out as an artist for the breed, and now you're a breeder.
Yes.
Hey, it happens. You know, you have one, and then you got, what do you have, 15 now?
Exactly so. Right. I started with one. Her name was Presentation, and she was presented to me by the BLM as a kind of a non-monetary reward. All right. And Josh Warburton and my wife Cheryl got together, and unbeknownst to me, because I had gone out the day before, and they had all kind of teasingly asked me, you know, what kind of a judge of horseflesh I was, and would I pick out the one that looked the best to me amongst these youngsters. And so I saw a weanling in the group that just, to me, looked about like as good a piece of horse as I'd ever seen. Mm-hmm. I said, that's the one I like the best. And the next day, they talked me into going out into the corrals and to take some photographs. Sure enough, that's when they made this presentation. So I was, you know, thrilled. And then they held her there for me. I didn't have any place to put her at the moment. Mm-hmm. And I was a long way from home, and I didn't have a horse trailer. So they kept her for about 6 months and kind of gentled her and talked to her and kind of made a pet out of her around the place. And then eventually she came down to my place.
And she's still with you. She's 23 now.
She's 23 years old, and she's now used as a saddle horse, not only by myself. I still use her a lot. She's my Cadillac. I call her my Cadillac ride. When I want to go out for a Sunday ride and just enjoy the ride, Kigers in general have very smooth gaits.
Okay.
Some people ask me, in fact, many ask me, are they gaited? And I say yes. And no. Mm-hmm. She has a single foot. That's just as smooth as silk. Just delightful. Very fast and very smooth.
And she's at 23, you told me, still going on, you took her on an 8-day trip, and she made it out just as sound as can be, so.
Yes.
She is.
Never had a set of shoes on.
Well,
and this particular horse has never had a bit in her mouth. I just used a bosal on her because I didn't know any better. And she's a natural bosal horse. Okay. She just has that natural feel to her.
Well, and then she led you to expanding your herd and expanding your involvement in the association. So it's great that you're here to explain to our viewers exactly what it means to be a Kiger Mustang, because they're not just a Mustang. There is a difference, and there's a reason they're called the Kiger. And we have some great video today that is going to explain what it is we're talking about and give you some visuals and show you how dang pretty these horses are. Let's go ahead and watch our first video right now. So not all people are going to take their Kigers and go to the snaffle bit, but what are the things that some of these folks, when they adopt a horse, what do they use them for?
They're a very versatile animal. That's what it kind of bottom line is, that they're a very versatile horse. Most of them fall in that size category, which is between 14 and 15 hands, with 14.2 being sort of the average. I think it's getting a little larger.
Okay.
In captivity especially, and I know several that are in their 15 to 15.2 hand range, and some even bigger. So you can find a lot of different combinations for people to use a horse that's tractable, good-minded, soft, and easily trained.
Yeah. And you yourself have, over the years, raised a lot of these horses.
I have.
And every one of them for you has been a pleasure to train and easy to be around.
Yes. Yeah, they really are. They have different personalities, and I can't say that some aren't more difficult than others, and especially for me, my particular personality. But for the most part, yes, they are very soft, quiet-minded, don't seem to have that explosive quality, or I've never seen panic in their eyes. It's just an interesting phenomenon, and I really enjoyed being around them.
Well, they sound great, and you've been able to put your grandkids on them and trust that they'll be just fine.
Yes. Yes.
You can't do that with all horses. So, and folks are using them for trail riding mainly?
I think that's kind of the predominant use right now, is trail, and endurance. And I think in a general way, I think if I look at all of the people that own Kigers, most are using them as just general purpose trail horses.
Okay.
Quite a few still use them in dressage and different kinds of 3-day eventing, and they're just used for a lot of different things.
Well, like Bobby was showing, you know, he was looking at the athletic ability of the horse.
Yes.
And I can imagine that it wasn't just Cougar. A lot of these horses are so athletic that you could take them in any direction.
I think that's true. Right.
And they're built, they've got good feet. They're hardy and can go long distances. They don't get so tired. Your mare is a perfect example at 23,
Exactly.
still going strong, and that's a great attribute to have a horse with a good foot on him these days.
Yes, and they're easy keepers. In fact, sometimes they're so easy we have to be kind of careful.
Yeah.
You know? They just they'll eat. They just stay fat on almost nothing. Most of them do.
Okay.
Yeah, really easy keeper.
Well, and they're good to look at, too.
Well, that's what drew me to them.
Yeah. No, they're great. I have this catalog in front of me that you would receive if you were going to plan on going to an adoption. And so these horses are so much fun to look at. You can visit their website, kigermustangs.org. And if an adoption is coming up soon, then they will put the catalog online. So you can look through and pick out some horses that you're kind of keen on and head to the adoption. But they are absolutely beautiful and really unique in the way that they are. So, well, we're going to take another short break. We'll be back with more on Horse Talk Live, and we have some more video for you to show you how cool these horses are. So stick around. We'll be back with more. Artist, and you can view some of his work on his website, which is rolandchaney.com. He does more than just the horses. He's into sculpting and you name it, he's doing it with as far as art goes. But he's also breeding Kiger Mustangs, and so he's become somewhat of an expert on the breed and a strong advocate. Folks across the country are starting to recognize what a special breed this is, and the association was created to protect and preserve this breed. What, for anybody who may just be joining us, what makes a Kiger a Kiger?
Well, the first thing, it must be from the Kiger herd management area.
Okay.
Or at least be able to trace its ancestry directly to the Kiger Riddle Mountain area of southeastern Oregon in the Staines Mountains. But it is called the Kiger HMA in total.
Okay.
And so we now have DNA, and we now know where all of these horses come from, and it must trace itself back to that.
Okay, and it's the Spanish blood that is so unique to these horses, and there's been no outside influence, which is really kind of very interesting, rather, but about these horses. So.
Yes, it is. It's fascinating, and the color phases are, of course, a part of the registry.
Okay.
It must have a dorsal, or we can't register it. Must have the dorsal is the most important part, but it will, if it has a dorsal, it will also have black outlined ears and kind of a buff color on the inside. It'll probably have a bicolored mane. It'll probably have bicolor in the tail. Undoubtedly will have bars and stripes on the legs, front and hocks. And other characteristics are kind of a masking in the face.
Okay.
Sometimes we have what they call turkey tracks. Up underneath the forelock, at the beginning of the forehead, you'll see kind of a turkey track coming down that is a part of the dun factor.
Okay.
And those are the kinds of things you look for.
Okay, well, it's all very interesting, and we do have some video to show folks at home, and you can get a better example of what these horses look like and how pretty they are. So we're going to go ahead and watch that video. That a Kiger would have, and all the different things that people are doing with their Kiger Mustangs.
Exactly.
We saw some folks driving their horses, jumping, riding Western, riding English, you name it, it looks like you can do it.
Yes, yes, and their natural collection gives a good opportunity for even for dressage and for any number of different combinations.
Yeah, the way that they are built really makes for a pretty picture, you know, the way they carry themselves. And we saw a Breyer horse in there, which you were a part of because that was your...
Well, I did it.
Okay, yeah.
I sculpted it.
And you've done a few of those for the Kigers?
I did 8. for the Breyer Association, Breyer Company,
Okay.
that were all Kiger horses in our effort to get them out there for people to understand what they were.
Well, that's a smart move. And some of those photos were taken at the Western States Horse Expo in
Yes.
Sacramento.
Yes.
So if you want to learn more about the Kigers and see some more, you can go to the Western States Horse Expo in Sacramento, and a big group will be out there. You'll be out there with your horses?
Yes, they'll be
Okay.
there. There'll be about 5 riders.
Okay. And then there's also a Kiger Fest that...
Every year we have a Kiger Fest. It's usually in the fall, sometimes it's in the spring, and then we have to determine, where it's going to be and what part of the country. It's usually either in California or Oregon.
Okay, and so people can bring their horses out or come and see, maybe take a test ride and see if this might be the breed for them. Because they are not only good to look at, but they're smart horses too, and really possess a lot of neat characteristics, being wild horses.
They do, right. I've really been thrilled to be a part of this whole process of having an opportunity to set this breed aside for posterity, just as a genetic resource, and also as a group of horses to be used.
Well, and you're doing it. You're a breeder, and folks can look up breeders on the website.
Yes.
KigerMustangs.org, and learn more, find out where they can go and maybe go take a look at some of the horses, see if there's any for sale, and keep up when there's going to be an auction. Roland, thanks for being our guest here today.
Been a delight for me. Thank you.
Sure enjoyed learning about the horses that you've chosen as your breed. And we want to thank you for joining us today on another episode of Horse Talk Live. I'm Lizzie Iwerson, and until we see you next time, make sure you head out to the barn and give your horse a hug. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Horse Talk Live.